Manhattan, and you're watching Lights Out.
This is Lights Out. I'm Faisal Khan, joined here by John Rawling. We are at the press conference for Jack Catterall Davies this Saturday night at the Morningside Arena in Leicester. John, how are you doing today?
I'm well.
First of all, we'll obviously get to Saturday night's action. I saw you the other day on Monday at the BT Sport headquarters. It's finally going ahead. December the 1st, LA, Staples Center, Tyson Fury versus Deontay Wilder. What have you made of the press conferences? And if it was a psychological battle, who would you have in front so far?
Fun and games, aren't they? It's all a bit tongue in cheek, you know. I mean, I think Tyson is absolutely in his element in that sort of an environment, and he's very, very good at playing the word game. Has he got under Deontay's skin? Has he wound him up? I'm not too sure. I think the bottom line is that they actually get on pretty well, and there's a lot of I sense there's a lot of respect there. I think it's going to be a great fight, and it's garnered a lot of publicity on both sides of the Atlantic, which is great.
John, honestly, judging on his last two performances, has this fight come too soon for Tyson, or do you think he's taken it at the right time?
Well, possibly, but you know, I mean, we don't live in an ideal world, do we? You can always say, in an ideal world, I'd do this, I'd do that. But in reality, you have to deal with what's actually in front of you. And we're not in the ideal world, we're in the boxing world. And there's been the opportunity for him to get this fight. And yeah, I think he'd probably agree. I think certainly his trainer would agree. In an ideal world, he'd have had another couple of fights. But, you know, he is a fighting man. He's somebody who was good enough to beat a prime Vladimir Klitschko back in however long ago it is, 2.5 years ago. You know, and I think that he will rise to the occasion. I think that people who suggest that he's going to be just in there for the payday, or just in there and going to be just blasted out in no time at all, in my opinion, they don't know what they're talking about.
Saturday night, it's a big night in terms of British boxing. We'll start with one of the fights on the card, which is Archie versus Leon Woodstock.
Good fight.
It's brewing up to be a very good fight. First of all, has it come at the right time for in both their careers? Both undefeated, both have quite a bit of experience. And what type of fight do you expect we'll get on Saturday night?
Yeah, absolutely. It is at the right time. If a fight is going to progress, they have to come through tough fights. You know, it's the nature of the sport, isn't it? You don't get to the top without having searching examinations along the way. And I think that this has got the makings of a very, very good fight indeed. Archie is perhaps technically the better boxer. He's come through the amateur game and he's won plenty of titles as a junior. He's very well schooled. Leon, he would say, and I think I'd probably agree, he's kind of done it despite the system. You know, he's come up the hard way, if you like. And he is a very, very tough kid. He's on home territory. He's got the support of his people. The bulk of the support here are going to be Leon Woodstock supporters. You know, you've got to, I think, probably edge towards him. But having said that, Archie Sharp is a very good boxer, and his people would say rubbish. You know, he's going to school him and he's going to outbox him.
Do you think, like, with what happened at today's press conference, Archie Sharp may have been shown a bit lack of disrespect, that maybe he's been taken a bit too lightly?
Well, yeah, he bit, didn't he?
Yeah, he did.
He bit. And I think if you're looking at the two men, you'd say that Leon looks the more composed and the more in control of his emotions. Whether that's going to play out as an important factor in the fight, only time will tell.
The main event, Jack Catterall versus
another good fight.
Very good fight in terms of British boxing as well. Yeah. The newly looked O'Hara Davies. We've not seen what we usually get from O'Hara Davies in press conferences. Is that because he knows he's in there with a real fight, or do you think O'Hara Davies, since he signed with Frank Warren, has had to embrace change and perhaps maybe brushing up on his personality a little bit?
Well, I actually quite like O'Hara, you know, which is, I think a lot of people in the sport would find that sort of hard to believe, but I find him quite a likeable bloke, and I'm a big believer in take as you find. You can't change what you've done in life, and he has done some stupid things. He's said some things which now he'd regret, and he's been on social media and said things which he would regret. And I think he's older, he's wiser. You can't change what's happened, but you can change what will be, and I think he's trying to do that. And I think from that perspective, he has to be respected for it. And I think that it is on paper a very, very good fight, because again you've got Jack Catterall, who's a very talented all-round boxer, against Davies, who is a decent boxer himself, but also has that tremendous right hand. He has one very, very big shot, which is an equaliser in any stage of any contest he's in.
John, technically, who would you have the better fighter in this fight between Jack Catterall and Davies? Technically, who do you think is the better fighter?
Technically Catterall.
And do you think Davies perhaps the more powerful puncher?
Yeah. I mean, he said at the press conference, didn't he? He said, "I'm not a powerful puncher, I'm an accurate puncher."
Yeah.
And there's an element of that, isn't there? Because in any sport, it's timing. You know, it's not necessarily the biggest guy or the strongest guy who hits the golf ball the furthest or hits the cricket ball the hardest. It's somebody who can time it. And likewise in boxing, it's not necessarily the biggest, strongest guy who has the biggest punch. It's the man who can time it and produce the punch that you don't see. And Davies does have that ability. He's a tremendous puncher.
You was there a couple of weeks ago for Canelo and Golovkin. You sounded very disappointed with the decision at the end. Looking back on the fight, would you still agree it was the wrong decision, or do you think the judges got it right?
It was a tight one, wasn't it? But you know, I mean, I was at ringside, and I hear what everybody said, and I do read a lot of stuff which gets put on social media, and I know that a lot of people over here didn't agree with the way that Barry Jones and I viewed the fight. All I can say is that I was at ringside, and a lot of virtually everybody who was at ringside working on the fight, working as a journalist, working as a commentator, whatever, just about everybody thought that Golovkin won that fight. Now, you know, I respect anybody's views to the contrary, that's fine, but I thought that Golovkin won the fight, and I was just a little bit disappointed for boxing. You know, it's very easy to say it's Las Vegas, what do you expect? Yeah. But, you know, you want to see things done on the level, and I thought that Golovkin won that fight and didn't get the decision.
I think looking back at both fights, Golovkin's performed superbly. I actually thought Canelo performed well the second time round better. In terms of going forward, what do you think Golovkin needs to do now? Do you think he needs to get in the ring with Jamal Charlo, or do you think he's got the right to say, well, I can forget Jamal Charlo for a second and I'll invoke my rematch clause with Canelo? Well, what would you like to see?
His promoter is saying, let's do it again. And you know boxing, money talks. If the most money is for a rematch, then they'll do it again. But if it's in Las Vegas, I think you know how it's going to finish.
Why has both these fights ended up with controversial decisions, John? What do you think the main reason is?
How far down this route are you trying to push me? Canelo is currently boxing's major cash cow. He brings a lot to the table in negotiating terms. It was on Mexican Independence Day, and there was a huge invasion's not the right word, but a huge influx of Hispanic supporters, many of whom had come up from Mexico, and it brings a lot of money into Las Vegas. You know, and the bottom, it shouldn't be this way. But in boxing, it's a business.
If we were to get a third and final fight, where would the ideal location be for you?
Well, it's going to be in Las Vegas, isn't it? Because that's where the most money will be. It shouldn't be, but that's where I'd like to see us in New York, or Madison Square Garden, or at the Staples Center in LA. But I think it'll be in Las Vegas because that's where the money is. It's a Golden Boy promotion. Canelo's a Golden Boy fighter.
Let's get your predictions for Saturday.
They're going to get my predictions on Canelo against Golovkin.
When it happens, I'll ask.
Canelo points.
Dubois Johnson, good fight, good test for Daniel Dubois. Kevin Johnson, bags of experience. What's your prediction?
Dubois knockout.
Woodstock Sharp.
Tight one. I edge towards Woodstock points.
Catterall Davies.
Another tight one. Very, very difficult. I think I'd perhaps marginally edge Jack Catterall's way on boxing ability and take him on points.
December 1st, Fury versus Wilder.
Fury points.
Do you think he puts in the same performance against?
He outboxes him.
Okay. John Rawling, thank you very much for your time, and thank you very much for talking to Lights Out. Really appreciate it.
My pleasure.